Hi friends, welcome to the Quantum Alignment Show, where today we're going to talk about the secret to personal power. You know, become your best self has become a hot topic among self-improvement superstars like Tony Robbins for decades now, but today it's my hope that you actually get to know the role that your subtle energy systems serve in slowing down or speeding up that process. So hi, I'm Nicole Nelson. I'm your host for the show today. And first, I just want to give a big thanks to Karen Curry Parker and the Quantum Alignment System Professional Association for having me here to teach today. And definitely Cindy Harley, who's our friend behind the scenes on Karen's team, who's facilitating this live stream. So we're going to get started. I want to let you know that you're definitely tuned in to the right show, whether you are brand new to energy healing and human design, whether you're somewhat familiar with energy healing and human design, and even if you're pretty well studied in one or both, because we're going to cover a lot of ground today. In fact, my students and clients sometimes tell me it's like drinking from a fire hose, learning from me, but I promise to slow my roll. And I'm also going to cover as much as I can in about 45 to 50 minutes, leaving some time at the end for Q&A and some conversation. I also want to let you know that inevitably I'm going to not be able to cover everything. So we will definitely talk about an invitation to continue on with personal power part 2 at the end of today. But let's talk about what it is we are going to cover. So I'm hopeful by the end of today's show, you're going to walk away with at least these 5 key insights. The first is we're going to talk about what does it mean to be human and how does it work? That's a tall order in of itself. We're going to talk about 2 things you need when you fall out of flow with life and your personal power. We're going to talk about 1 key distinction in human design that I think will be pretty important. So we're going to spend a good amount of time on that. We're going to talk about 9 simple principles that are at the root of human health, behavior, and consciousness. And then finally, I'm going to have you pull out your charts if you haven't. If you don't worry about it. You can still gain benefit. But we're going to do a little example. I'll do a walkthrough to show you how your design dances with energy mechanics and really helps you play your unique and irreplaceable role on the planet. So do me a favor, this is going to be interactive. So let me know in the comments, just type a number 1 either in the chat if you're here with us on Zoom or 1 on Facebook if you've seen this kind of advice before. All you need to do is set smart goals, take massive determined action, and work really, really hard in order to do or be anything. Now, if you're joining us on the replay, that's great too. Just give me a hashtag replay and type the number 1 in the comments. I'm going to follow through and take a look at everything and see what you folks have to say when we're done today. So, okay, now give me a 2 if you kind of hate this because you've been that hardworking person. You maybe are a take charge person and you've kind of hurt yourself being so hardworking only to find out, meh, it didn't work out, or it didn't work out fast enough. And that situation can feel pretty disempowering, right? So go ahead and type a 2 if that's true for you. You're kind of not so in love with this statement. Great. All right. So this is the Quantum Alignment Show, not the Nicole Show. But if you're like me, I like to know who's teaching. And I just wanted to reintroduce myself briefly. I'm Nicole Nelson. I am a professionally certified energy practitioner, as well as a quantum alignment specialist and quantum human design specialist. For you human design enthusiasts out there, I'll let you know also that I am a line 3 profile. So I consider myself my own best case study, and so do my clients. Because I came in 2010 to human design, much like a lot of you probably have, out of a true disconnection with what I'll call my authentic self. You know, I subscribe to the mentality of higher, faster, farther. I was always living my life with some kind of goals and agenda. And to be honest, the idea of play for the sake of play felt immature and irresponsible. I joke with my clients actually that if because I was such a will my way to the top, front runner, that I was an achievement slave. So I graduated college with a bio pre-med major. I was scooped up out of college. I was recruited to a multinational Fortune 500. You might have heard of them recently in the news, called Johnson & Johnson. Graduated their leadership development program. Then I went back 7 years later and got a master's. Then I was invited to participate in Yale School of Management's Women's Leadership Program, so on and so forth. And while it probably seemed on the outside that I was achieving things and successful and happy, the truth was inside it was a different story. Do me a favor, let me know that I'm not by myself here. Type me too in the comments or in the chat if you've had this experience of seeming to have done a lot on the outside. Your outside looks pretty good, but on the inside, it feels a little shaky inside. It doesn't feel quite as good. All right, I'm seeing some response here. Thank you. So, for me, I paid the price. In my early 20s, I had signs of accelerated aging. People often guessed I was 10 years older than I actually was. I will say, fun fact, and I totally credit energy work to this, people often guess I'm 10 years younger than I am today. So that's kind of enjoyable. But back then, I was anxious. I was insecure. I had health problems like eczema and weight gain and sinus infections and allergies and hair loss. I mean, partridge in a pear tree, you guessed it, I had it. And so I was very far away from feeling my sense of personal power, and my body was definitely paying the price. I continued to force things into being for a long time. I subscribed to that statement I put at the top of today's show, and I paid, the price. I paid the consequences. Now, I will say, for those of you who are also line threes like me, I do believe today that because line threes are meant to be life experimenters, we're pretty much designed to figure out all the stuff that doesn't work. And if you're a line three, please know that yes, that can be humbling sometimes, but it's not to be confused with humiliating, and that's a key distinction I made when I started to regain my personal power through energy healing and human design. It was about accepting who I was and seeing kind of the benefits of it. So for me, I was attached to my identity for a really long time as the achiever type, right? And I did that for a long time until the unexpected happened. For me, it was the form of a car accident. Now, again, if you're interested in human design, I'll just let you know that my incarnation cross, if you're brand new to human design, those are the top 4 numbers when you get your chart run. It's your conscious and unconscious sun and your conscious and unconscious earth. And so mine is the right angle cross of the unexpected. And if you have that as well, it basically just means that, our life theme is really about indulging in the unexpected. And so, the good news about that is today I'm an expert in weathering major pattern disruptions to my identity. So a lot of times that's what that's what I'm working on with clients when they come to me. So do me a favor, type a 3 in the comments. Again, if you're here watching the replay, just do a hashtag replay and type a 3. If you can relate to having been in pain of some kind, but not really doing much about it until life forced your hand. Forced your hand with the unexpected. That might have shown up like a car accident like me, or a job loss, or a death of a loved one. It could be literally anything. But yeah, I'm seeing some response. Okay, I'm not alone. Thanks for that. So, in my life path, my attempt to fix that misalignment and disconnection with myself was to leave my big bad Fortune 500 career. I did a career change and I got certified as a leadership coach because I loved the idea of helping other people. And I thought by doing more of what I like, I'd have an increased quality of life. So do me a favor, type a 4 in the chat box or in the comments if you can relate to having changed a job, a relationship, maybe even geography, in order to heal some stress or struggle and make your life more meaningful. Yeah, I'm seeing some response there too. Yep, not alone. So I don't know about you, but I learned a very valuable lesson, and it's this famous quote by John Kabat-Zinn, which is, wherever you go, there you are. Whoop, I went a little too fast. So the problem was that even though I changed my outer experience, my inner energetic pattern stayed the same. In fact, I carried a lot of shame. And so for my line 3s out there, I just want to say, share with you an acronym that was taught to me a long time ago. Shame was should have already mastered everything. no, we shouldn't. We're supposed to experiment, right? So I took on a lot of things that I didn't need to. I took on a lot of energetic patterns, I said personally, very personally. And that led me to take a lot of actions of many things that probably made me struggle more than necessary, to be honest. And I'm not going to go into all the details because you can find them on page 5 of the Quantum Human Design e-zine that I'm so grateful picked up my article just last month. So that's, you can go into the details there. But I always joke that there's really concrete cost to conditioning and not knowing your energy patterns. For me, it was like over $40,000 worth of cost and consequences. But so what happened next was just over time, I realized what I was doing wasn't working. This old adage of just put your nose to the grindstone and you can have or be anything wasn't empowering. I was far from feeling personally empowered. And so I needed new tools if I wanted to enhance my emotional health and my physical health, not to mention my performance stuff. And so it led me to seek mentoring and in integrated mind, body, and energy approaches. And I'm so grateful and thankful to all my mentors today. Today, I'm a professionally certified subtle energy practitioner with master healer Donna Eden, as well as the Access Bars practitioner. And of course, I am part of the quantum community, so certified or specialist in quantum alignment system and quantum human design. Now, the neat thing is that over time, these great mentors really gave me the secret to personal power. So are you ready? You ready to know the secret? Put I'm ready in the comments if you want to know. I'm curious. So yeah, here it is. Everything is energy, my friends. I discovered that literally almost everything feels less threatening once it's explained through the perspective of energy. That's what these mentors have taught me. They taught me that subtle and visible energies are at the root of human health, behavior, and consciousness. And so as a result, I got an entirely new set of tools beyond just that industrial age Newtonian physics philosophy of just work hard and make things happen. So today I have a new understanding, and it really helps me and my clients accomplish what I call the 3 pillars to amplifying personal power. The first bit is to really heal your self-concept and build a system for sincere self-understanding. Now, for that, I use the tool of quantum human design. And the second pillar is to heal your imbalances from years of acting out of alignment with the true story of who you are. Not even to mention, when we hold on to energies that aren't ours, And so for that, I use the tools and techniques of energy medicine. And then the third pillar, as I see it, is really healing your priorities and ensuring that you're devoting your vital life force energy towards people, places, and things that are actually healthy and fulfilling. So this is where, for me, I tended to use my cognitive behavioral coaching skills. You can literally get any, life coach to sort of be your project manager for your life, as I've heard it called. So why is it important to master energy mechanics? For my human design masters and enthusiasts out there, the reason why is sort of at the crux of how come some super sexy topics like these are brought up on Karen's YouTube channel. It's why we are not our chart. It is why knowing your design isn't a hack for making more stuff happen in life. And it's why knowing your human design type alone isn't enough. This is just a small part of how you as an energy body and being interact with all of life. So why we want to master energy mechanics? We're talking about what it means to be human right now and how it works, okay? So when I got certified in the Eden method, the first thing they taught us was that subtle and visible energies are at the root of human health, behavior, and consciousness, that these energies flow through 9 systems of your human energy anatomy, and they're designed for optimal functioning of your mind and body. Now, over the course of a lifetime, though, environmental and emotional conditioning, as well as simple daily stresses, can cause your energies to either become stagnant, blocked, or out of coherence. This is an important concept, everyone, because this is true regardless of your energy type. This is regardless of what you find on your human design chart. So as a result, my new mantra is not that you just need smart goals, take massive action, and work hard to have or be or do anything, right? It's all you need to do is renovate your relationship with your body's energy and with your connection to source energy in order to do or be anything. Now, what do I mean by renovate your relationship? So what I mean is very similar to any human relationship, right? It means to be devoted to your body's energy and to your connection to source energy. It means to spend time with your body's energy and your connection to source energy. It means to listen to your body's energy. How many times, my dear friends, have you been absolutely exhausted, but you said, no, not gonna rest now, gotta go do something, gotta do it. So you listen to your body's energy and you listen to your connection to source energy. How many times did you get that inner knowing that this thing right in front of you was not for you and you ignored it anyway, right? You need to trust your body's energy and trust your connection to source energy. You need to tend to your body's energy and tend to this connection to source energy. And then, of course, appreciate it. Appreciate your body's energy. Appreciate your connection to source energy. So when clients come to me, usually they've fallen out of flow with life and out of the GOD, as I've heard that jokingly called the gift of desperation, sometimes inspiration. It has them willing to look at life through the lens of energy. And I tell them there's two things that they need. They need to know how to work with their unique energy, and you need to know what's your unique energetic design. So this brings us to two key terms that are not mutually exclusive, but they are in fact distinct in my eyes. So when we're talking about energy, there's a difference between design and anatomy. And if you're new here, it might just be a little bit confusing because we don't normally think of ourselves as energy beings or consciousness in a body, right? Much less the idea that we have actual energy anatomy systems. But for the purposes of our talk today, basically energetic design is that concept of knowing what's your unique energetic blueprint. It's what. And then energy anatomy is knowing how to work within your unique energy. So just in case this concept of energy anatomy is new for you, I just want to share, for example, let's say you have gone to a healing center and they offered chakra healing, clearing rather. Obviously, they're working on the chakra system. Maybe you went to a quantum alignment specialist or an acupuncturist. And when you do that, they're working on your meridian system. Maybe you went to a Reiki master. Reiki comes from Japan, and predominantly they work on the auric field. So it's the auric field system. Or maybe, let's say you were working with a Barbara Brennan Institute practitioner, and she or he was working on aligning your intentions. They probably worked on your heart align. So it's possible that you already have interacted with energy anatomy before, but just didn't realize it. So what I want to do for us is bring this down to earth a little bit because I love earth, don't you? So we're going to use an example to delineate between anatomy and design. We're going to use a car example. So whether you have a sports utility vehicle, a race car, or say a commercial truck, I think we can agree that all cars pretty much have the same parts, right? They have the same anatomy. They've got brakes, they have wheels, they have batteries to help them go, to help them function within their design. And we need to know how to work with our car parts, right? Or find somebody who's an expert who can do that in order to change the oil, test the batteries, inflate a tire, for example, all so that we can enjoy the full power of that car's design. Please don't do this, but I dare you, don't ever get new brakes on your car, and you're going to quickly see how much you limit the possibility of that car's design, right? But if we look at design, for example, so different cars are made unique based on their features. Maybe you've got a cool spoiler on the back of the trunk. Maybe you have a sunroof. Maybe there's a flatbed so that you can sit there and strum your guitar. That's what I would do, except I don't play the guitar. So do me a favor. If you're here with us live, go ahead, put a thumbs up emoji or type in Y in the comments if you're following this example of anatomy, design, function, and features, just so they know that we're moving along together a little bit. And then okay, cool. So next, I want to just bring it to the human body. We'll do another example just to kind of anchor it in. So Our physical anatomy, our physical body anatomy includes systems that permit our human body to function. So barring any birth defects, every human more or less has the same anatomy. We've got a skeletal system, we have a nervous system, we have a digestive system. So those things don't really distinguish us from one another so much, right? All humans, for example, are born with a head. At least I hope so. So what we need to do, though, is know how to work with our body's anatomical system so that we can feel our full power. And otherwise, we hire experts to help us, right? Like you go to the doctors, for example. So now when it comes to design for a human body example, we rarely really talk about the human body design, right? Unless maybe you're a professional model or you go to a plastic surgeon or a salon to change your natural design. But I would say our design is what makes us unique. While all of us are born with a nervous system, a circulatory system, a muscular system, we're not all born with blue eyes or black hair. It's our features that are what make us unique. So go ahead and put a thumbs up in the comments if you're kind of picking up what I'm putting down so far. That'll be great. And if you're here on the replay, you can do a hashtag replay and do that as well. That's just fine. I'm going to come back around. Cool. So now that we understand this distinction, let's go back to the two things I tell my clients to master when they've fallen out of their connection with their personal power. So the first thing is knowing what's your unique energetic design. And so if you have a human design chart handy, you can go ahead and just take note mentally of your human design energy type. If you know it, that's great. If not, please don't worry. We're going to still make sure that you get benefit today, so stick around. And you can always reach out to me or any other quantum human design specialist for a reading in order to get your chart done and discover what your energy type is. So also, just so you know, on this slide, for those of you who are newer, there's traditional human design and then there's quantum human design. So in parentheses, underneath each of these body graphs, I put the quantum terminology so that you can just know which one you are if you happen to have one label or the other. And just hang on to that info because in a moment I'm going to explain, using an example, this intersection of design and anatomy. So the second things, of course, I tell my clients is that in order to amplify personal power, regardless of their human design energy type, they need to know how to work with their energy anatomy. They need to know how to keep it into good working condition. And by the way, there are some specific energy exercises you can do based on your unique feature set, your unique design. But today, we won't have time for this. So this is part of Personal Power Part 2 if you're interested, okay? Now, just in case, because I know some of you might be watching this and thinking, Nicole, are you telling me this means I need to become an expert in all the human energy systems in order to live a fulfilled life and enjoy full power of my personal design? And no. No, just like you don't need to be a dentist, you don't need to be a neurologist, you don't need to be a cardiologist or any other specialist, right? It's not necessary. But what is probably helpful is to know a little bit about general energy mechanics so that you can then create a system for self-regulation. Just like you create diet plans or exercise plans, or nowadays people are doing mindfulness practices, which is so great. The idea here is that you know generally how your energy works so that you can set up some, general maintenance and care. And before we explore this dance between design and anatomy with the examples, I just wanted to share with you these principles of energy mechanics. When I went to school to be certified in the Eden method, one of the first things we also were taught were these 9 principles of energy medicine. And it's so easy and so intuitive that I just wanted to share them with you here, because you're going to see that you're probably doing a whole lot already to support your energy anatomy. So the first thing is that energy needs to move. It needs space. And so when you're doing yoga class and stretching, that's a great way that you're allowing energy anatomy to get space. Energy likes to move in certain patterns, especially crossover figure 8 patterns. So if you're going for a walk and you're crossing your arms, opposite leg, opposite arm, you're doing great things for your energy anatomy. Energy is affected by other people and events in your environment. We sort of covered this one before. Energy is adapt to circumstances using consistent priorities, like the body of survival, for example. So given that, it's important to understand too, if you remember my story, I talked about taking energy patterns personally. Well, The thing is that energy can form habits that might not be changed easily. And they, even if those habits are harmful. So, one of the key takeaways I want to share now is that if you've been working on an issue for a while and it just doesn't seem to go away, right? Please don't be hard on yourself. This is because the energy anatomy has this hierarchy of how, of priorities, and it's going to maintain those priorities come hell or high water, so to speak. So this is why usually you hire somebody like a quantum alignment specialist or some other expert to help you repattern these energies, which is the next point. You can, in fact, repattern these energies. And then the flow and balance and harmony of the body's energies is reflected in the health of the body. I would like to also suggest here that it's also reflected in the level of expression of your design. So each trait or gate, if you will, in your design has sort of a spectrum of how it can be expressed. And if it's going to be a high frequency expression or a lower frequency expression, I believe has a direct connection to the flow, balance, and harmony of the body's energy anatomy. And then finally, body's energies are all interconnected. So, you go to a quantum alignment specialist, they're working on the meridian system. It's also affecting your auric field. You go to somebody who's working on your aura, it's also working on your chakras. So it's all interconnected. And, in some ways that's the fun of it. In some ways that's what makes it a little challenging, right? So, okay, so today I thought I would illustrate this intersection between design and anatomy. And I wanted to choose one energy anatomy system that I think is pretty familiar with everyone. So we're going to work on the auric field today as our example. And I just want to do a super accelerated anatomy lesson so we're all on the same page. And then we're going to play with this as it relates to design. So aura greatly impacts your physical, emotional, and spiritual health. It's this magnificent shield, if you will. And I like to think of it being the biology nerd I am, like a cell membrane. In high school biology, you might have learned that the cell membrane allows some substances to come in, some molecules to come in, and some it doesn't allow. So the auric field is very much like that as the first line of defense, really determines what's allowed to be processed deep within your physical body. So as such, why we have it is because its general job is connection, protection, and communication. If you take nothing more, just hold on to that fact because this will be important as we talk about design. It's also important just to understand that we communicate energetically way before we do so verbally or physically. And that perspective changes a lot when you look at some of the things going on in your life. Processes necessary nutrients from the environment, just like sunlight, for example, and it helps harmonize you with the Earth's magnetic field. Polarity therapies are very popular in alternative healing environments. And then it functions best when it's tightly woven together with no holes or big gaps and spaces. What it is exactly, in fact, is kind of cool to know that Harold Saxton Burr was a neuroanatomist at Yale University School of Medicine, and he was a researcher back in the 40s, and he gave us some of the earliest evidence of the existence of an energy field surrounding the body. So it's kind of nice to know that no matter what your human design energy type is, we all have an aura, and we need a healthy aura. And it's, I would say, one of the most important purposes of the aura is to protect us from external influences like electromagnetic pollution, for example, geopathic stress, negativity from other people, radiation, any other energetic bombardment that you might be walking into or living with. And so again, it's the outermost system. It's created actually from the electromagnetic energy within each and every cell. So it moves through all body systems and it creates this really resilient, vibrant, tightly woven field. For those who can see energy, it looks like millions of filaments that are just all colored light, all interwoven together. And it's also neat to know that it's comprised of many layers. So it's got 7 layers, kind of like Russian dolls. If you've ever seen those, they all go inside each other. They're nested fields. And each of those layers has unique function, in fact. And then it's also comprised of 7 bands that go from the bottom to the top. So why do we need it? what are some of the benefits? So again, no matter what your human design is, a strong auric field really helps amplify your personal power because it helps you feel grounded instead of scattered and spacey in your attention, helps connect you to others more easily, have a sense of security, feeling very protected, feel energized and less tired, increase your intuition, enjoying mental clarity, and also, of course, protect you from environmental pollutants. Now, before we go into the example, I want to bust a common myth. Bigger isn't necessarily better, my friends. So, really large auras, the fact is, they may not be doing its vital job of connection, protection, and communication. It really, really needs to be tightly woven together. And I want you to think of a sweater that you might wear for warmth in winter. You want that sweater to be knit together tightly so that there's no rips, holes, or tears, right? It's the same thing with your aura. You don't want a big stretch sweater full of gaps and whatnot, or else you're going to be cold and uncomfortable. Now, it's important to share that some people naturally do have very large and robust aura, and these are often people who walk into a room and we feel their presence before we even see them. We might even call them larger than life. So in contrast to that, there's other people where it can just naturally be small or it might be fragile. I want you to think of like a school dance in a middle school, right? Think of somebody who desperately doesn't want to be noticed, right? And they're in the corner of the room and they're thinking, oh my God, please don't ask me, please don't ask me. Those types of people are going to have a tighter auric field. In fact, I had a high schooler as a client once, and it was really interesting to note she was already labeled as social anxiety disorder. And her mom asked me to just assess what was going on. And I asked this girl, when you walk into a room, even if you're far away from other people, does it feel like they're physically inside your body? And she said, yes. And I said, does it feel like you just want to crawl out of your own skin? She said, yes. Well, I showed her how her auric field, even though it was the right size, if you will, it extended just beyond her fingertips. It turns out through energy testing that she had a detached auric field right in front of the heart. So of course it felt like everybody was inside her, So she actually was unable to go to the mall. And then I gave her a few energy exercises and she was able to go to the mall with her friends feeling comfortable. So that was a really exciting moment. So let's talk about this intersection of design and anatomy. Now, love it or hate it, my friends, in traditional human design, the information originally channeled by Ra included a description of certain features of this particular energy anatomy system that we're talking about today, the auric field. And he did do this for all 5 energy types. And we don't have time, as I said, to share individual energy exercises based on each one. That'll be in Personal Power Part 2. But for now, let's investigate this interplay of design and anatomy, this intersection, if you will, of features and functions, right? So for the generator types, generator and manifesting generator, in quantum human design, we call them alchemists and time benders. They are designed to have an open and enveloping auric field. Projectors, otherwise known as orchestrators in the quantum human design language, they are designed to have focused and absorbing auric fields. The reflectors, who are known as calibrators in the quantum human design language, they are designed to have resistant and sampling auric fields. And then manifestors, who are known as initiators in quantum human design language, they're designed to have closed and repelling auric fields. So at this moment in time, after saying the word repelling, if you are experiencing any defensiveness or negativity as a result of some of those labels used to describe your design's auric field feature, I just want to offer a really cool access consciousness tool. So it's simply a quantum question in which, like a little prayer, you send out the request. What's right about this I'm not getting? And you can do this with anything. So anything in life. But for the moment now, I just wanted to share this with you. So I admit, this might be a little bit more advanced for some of you newer people, but what I would like to invite you before I jump into this exercise is this. Isn't it empowering to know that you were designed with a unique role and that you're perfectly designed to play that unique role in life, right? For the rest of you who know a little bit about energy healing or human design, let's play a game together, shall we? So I would recommend at some point you pull out a piece of paper and you write out this fill in the blank sentence and consider for each of the energy types the following. Knowing the unique and irreplaceable part the blank energy type plays on the planet and in the cosmic plan, how might this feature of a blank and blank auric field help it fulfill its function as this unique role? So again, if you're newer to human design, just be excited that you have a unique role. I think that is empowering in of itself. For those of you who've been around the block a little bit, I'm going to share some examples. And then, of course, I invite you to just play with this exercise on your own as you see fit. So for example, I'm a generator role. I'm a manifesting generator, or a time bender, as we call it in the quantum human design language. And, generator roles are the doers of the world. We are designed to follow a step-by-step approach based on what our sacral energy response might be. So that I can then turn inspiration into form, like this presentation today. So for me, it makes sense to me that my energy anatomy, whose function, and specifically the aura, this is the energy anatomy system we're talking about right now, it makes sense to me that my aura, whose function is connection and communication, would best be designed as open and enveloping, almost magnetic, if you will, so that I may energetically connect with even more surface area, so that I can respond to what comes into that area. I tested this several years ago, actually, before I knew much about human design. I was getting my master's degree, and I decided to go visit a friend of mine that worked at a florist. And she said, Nicole, literally every time you come, it is empty all day. And then within 10 minutes, it fills up with people. And so I started playing this game and going to empty stores. And I'd stand in the corner where nobody could see me. Kind of creepy now if I think about it. And I'd wait. And within the next 5-10 minutes, first 3 people would come in, then 5, and then 7. So to me, this is evidence of that open and enveloping auric field. Now, I want to give you an example of one that might have ruffled some feathers because the word repelling is in there. And, I had a client during the pandemic who hired me in one of my transformation programs. And sadly, she didn't know what was going to happen, of course, but her father died during the program. He died of COVID. And she really swears that doing this work, and specifically knowing her quantum human design energy type, that it really got her through that terrible experience, because she always resented the role she played in the family. And my client was the youngest, but she was always the one initiating action in her family. And so there was a lot of freedom for her in just surrendering to the fact that this is my design. This is my unique role, my unique and irreplaceable part on the planet, as we say in quantum human design. So there was freedom in learning that she was a manifestor. We call them initiators in quantum human design. And for that particular design, energy type, I should say, their role is to turn inspiration into action. Now, these are very impactful people. And I like to tell my clients the P in impact stands for pressure. Why? Because each time we make impact, there is a certain level of pressure, even if it's light and loving pressure. How is that so? Well, because when we impact something, there's a momentum shift, right? We go from standing still to taking action. And if we think about Newtonian physics, right, just pressure in regular old physics, and you say you're on an icy pond, and that pond, the ice starts cracking beneath your feet. It's recommended that you diffuse your pressure by laying flat, because the concentrated pressure of your standing foot, that's what causes breakthrough. So to initiate action, we literally break through stillness, right? So for this manifestor client, whose unique part to play on the planet was to initiate action, for me, it made sense to me that her energy anatomy, specifically her auric field system, whose function is connection and communication, would be best designed as closed and repelling. I know we hate this word repelling. So think about it this way. Uh, think about Mama Bird for a second. Think about how Mama Bird, in order to break through stillness and initiate the action of first flight, she needs to be impactful. She needs to apply pressure. She needs to push or repel baby bird out of the nest, right? I love baby birds. I love mama birds. It's a little bit easier for me to take it from that vantage point. Now, the word closed is also there to describe a manifestor or initiator's work field. And so for me, when I thought about this, the way my manifestor client know that it was divine right timing, if you will, to initiate action was an internal creative flow. She has a direct connection to the quantum pulse. And I'm curious, have you ever tried to listen for the source of a sound in a wall for some reason, right? It's very hard to pinpoint. It's very hard to pinpoint because it's all diffused, right? So for me, it makes sense that her auric field would be closed, because think about all that distracting energetic information that might come in and make it hard for her to listen to source for the cue that, oh, right timing, time to initiate action. So take what you like and leave the rest on that. I'll leave you there too to play with this fill in the blank exercise, especially if you have been around the block for human design for a while. We definitely covered a lot of ground today. It was my goal to leave you with these 5 specific insights, specifically what does it mean to be human? How does it work? We talked about everything being energy, right? We talked about how you're literally an energy being in a body. The 2 things you need when you fall out of flow with life and your personal power, and we talked about knowing what is your design, what is your unique feature set, if you will, and how do you work with your energy? How do you work with your energy anatomy? We talked about that one key distinction about human design, the distinction between features and function. And we talked about those 9 simple principles that are at the root of human health, behavior, and consciousness. And again, I suggest it's also really there for the most empowering expression of your design. And then we just covered how your design dances with energy mechanics to help you play your unique and irreplaceable role on the planet. So I wanted to let you know that if you are interested in playing with me a little bit further on this concept of personal power, we're going to do personal power part 2. And I'm going to give you more specific tactics and techniques based on your energy type. We're going to explore some energy exercises to enhance your inherent human design. And then, of course, if you are like my client was, you're currently going through a time of change or challenge that's particularly difficult, and you want some help with that, you can always just direct email me at nicole@startagainstronger.com, and we'll just set up a video call and chat. And then as we close out, I don't know if you happen to be familiar with Rich Litvin. He is a coach that I admire, and he runs a leadership consultancy for world leaders. And he often says that one insight can change a life. So in this time left, I specifically wanted to leave some room for conversation and questions. I just wanted to ask you if you would please share one insight that you got from today's conversation. What was the key takeaway that you got from today's show? If you're catching us on the replay, please do just type #replay. You can share with that as well. I'm going to read all of your comments and questions in the upcoming days, answer anything that you'd like under the post. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me. It's a complete honor and such a joy to be able to be here right now. And so I'm here if you want to share your one key takeaway.
Shelley had a question before that.
Oh,
She
super.
said, is the course live or pre-recorded?
Oh, thank you for that. Yes. So it is a live course, but I am recording it. So the answer is both and. Yeah, you won't miss out if you can't be with us during the actual, live event.
Well, I will share a personal insight that I liked when you talked about all the different energy fields and then just focused on the auric field. I mean, there was the chakra system, the auric field, the meridian system.
Yeah.
I never really had thought of them all as different systems. So I thought very good.
Cool. Yeah, we don't, do we? Because we don't really learn about that in high school. So that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I'm just looking through.
As we're waiting for other people that might have comments, in all your studies, as you were going through, what was the most fascinating thing that you found that connected all these energy systems? I mean, is there one thing that jumped out at you that you're saying, oh my gosh,
Oh
I
my
never
gosh,
thought
there's
of
so
that?
much. Well, it's infinite, unfortunately. Well, let's see. I think, to your point, Cindy, I definitely, until I got certified in energy medicine, had no clue about the fact that we had all these energy systems. And I think what was cool for me I think a lot of us, I'll back myself up for a second before I explain. I think a lot of us who are attracted to this kind of show, right? We've been around the block a little bit in terms of like personal development and self-care of different kinds. So a lot of folks probably go to yoga or meditation or whatnot. So I think it's neat that we get ourselves involved in different activities. Like I use the example of going to an acupuncturist or going to a Reiki person, and we're actually working on our energy fields. We just don't know it. And yeah, and so I think the interconnectedness of all of them is what's really amazing. When I have a client on the table, which I haven't done in a long time because of the pandemic, I'm always amazed at how we have these protocols we go through to discern what energy system needs attention at this moment. And I always think it's cool how I'm working on one, and then the other things that tested as weak or submerged energies, they self-correct. And I didn't even work on them directly. I think that is, to me, the coolest thing every
I
time.
like I like the interconnectedness of it. And
Yeah.
I found again, I'm going to go, we did have that. Kelly was saying it was also interested. She's going to rewatch when she doesn't have 3 kids needing. Yes,
Well,
I can
thanks, Kelly. Yes,
understand that.
I understand.
Uh, but
Yeah.
but when you're going in, I mean, you talked about the quantum alignment system. As a practitioner, you're saying that again is working with the meridian system. So the EFT part
Yeah.
of that is working with the meridian system, but it's also combining a little bit with the human design, the quantum human design, which
Right.
you had mentioned, I think, in the earlier part, that it isn't really part of the chakra system. It isn't really part of, it's like, so could you clarify a little bit on how you see that, how
Sure.
your
Well,
body graph goes in with the 5
oh,
different?
right. So I guess I'm gonna take a guess. Hopefully, I'm answering the right thing about how the body graph shows us our centers and how we're taught in quantum human design and in traditional human design that the centers evolved from the Hindu chakra system, right? And so that I think I just sort of take at face value. There's when you work with the chakra system, it's kind of interesting to know that each chakra also, according to the Eden method, if you folks are familiar with Donna Eden, but so each chakra has layers as well, just like your auric field has layers. And so as a certified practitioner, when our initial assessment suggests that it's time to go in and work on a chakra or do chakra clearings, we actually can do it at each level of a particular chakra as well. So I have seen in our community, people are interested to know, like, well, if I get all my chakras cleared, does that mean that I have perfect expression of my whatever center, right? Um, it can, but I think this is a question that's, well, it's a great idea to go back to those 9 principles I shared with you, right? Because it shows how dynamic energy is, and how interrelated energy is. And so I actually remember seeing, am I on the right track here, Cindy? Am I kind of going down the path you were helping me when you asked the question?
I think it's a great path. I mean, you've gotten
Okay.
a couple. That's a good path, and I think there's all and some of the some of the people like Michelle on Facebook said, there's no all cleared when you're talking.
Right, there isn't. I mean, it's so, yeah, thank you, Michelle. There isn't, right? Because that's contrary to the human experience. Our whole idea, I think, my personal come from is we're here as a line 3. I feel like I'm here to learn and grow and to experience things. And so in order to appreciate the highest expression of my design, whether we're looking at it from the minutia of a gate, right, or a center or whatnot, it's having contrast is important. I feel like that's where life gets interesting, is when we have the contrast. So I'm fully on board with what Michelle says. It's never completely done. For those who are wondering, I think about, well, can I clear my chakras? And then it means, there's a direct correlation, a one-to-one correlation. I think this is a frustrating answer, but the answer in my book is no, because you have to understand that all of these 9 energy systems are all working together in different ways. And so it wouldn't be unfair to yourself to say, I do this and then this happens. That's a very Newtonian physics way of thinking about problem solving.
Well, that was a great answer, and it kind of goes along with what Shelley was saying in
Cool.
in the chat. Overall, I love the idea of energy, and I've also never been moved or motivated or interested by the SMART goals.
SMART goals: specific, measurable, actionable. Well, I don't even know what the acronym stands for anymore. Yeah, they're stressful.
It doesn't mean you can't work on goals. It's just you
Oh,
have
yeah, no.
to see how it relates to how you, I would imagine, personally are
Mhm,
using all your different energy systems. I mean, they all
mhm.
talk to one another. I always found it fascinating, the radiant circuit one. It's because
Oh,
I love
yeah.
the word radiant.
I
The
love
smiling one.
radiant. Yeah, they're amazing. I have yet to do a study on this, but I honestly feel like if we were to go for that first, that's one, frankly, that if you work on things in the radiant circuits, it does actually make big changes in the other anatomy. So it's kind of, and I'm digressing a lot here, but for those of you who are interested in Abraham Hicks, for example, and the concept that the purpose of life, is joy, and the basis of life is freedom, and the result of life is expansion. Well, this is how I think it's interesting that the more we allow ourselves joy, and Karen talks a lot about how everything that we're working on here in quantum human design is to allow more joy, really, in your life and in your design's expression. And so when we put our focus there, those radiant circuits do get activated. And then, I surmise it's a shortcut, but I haven't actually tested it yet on clients. So yeah.
So I'm not seeing any other questions. So the personal power part 2, I had posted the link in the chat and under the Facebook live stream.
Okay.
In personal power part 2, are you going to actually give
We're going to do some exercises.
exercises?
Yeah. We're going to do some exercises. I just needed to kind of lay the foundation here today so people understood the context, but we're absolutely going to do some individual exercises based on energy types, and we'll sort of revisit some of these really important questions about, this concept of, well, if I just clear a chakra, do I have, we're going to work on all of that together.
Okay, I saw one final question that came in from Lisa.
Okay.
The idea that everything is energy feels so kind and
Oh,
compassionate.
yes.
Me. I really appreciate the distinction between design and energy anatomy. Could you recap that brief
Recap it.
definition, please?
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks, Lisa. I'm glad that you found that to be kind and compassionate. I did too. It was really a saving grace for me. So, in short form, to my mind, being an energy medicine practitioner, the way I see it is that all of us have the same energy anatomy. It's tough, right? Because some people are like, well, I don't believe the chakra system really exists, but more or less, from my perspective as an energy medicine practitioner, whether you're a manifesting generator and I'm a projector or vice versa, you and I both have a heart chakra. You and I both have an auric field. You and I both have radiant circuits and so on and so forth. So those are not necessarily, these are how our energy works by virtue of the fact that we are human beings, energy beings, consciousness in a body. But what is different between the two of us? So that's how our energy functions. But what's our energy is different, because your design and my design is different, and we are completely unique, and we have completely different feature sets, right? And so, and that's where when you go get your quantum human design reading done by a specialist, they really break it down for you about your life themes and your key traits and how you interact with people. Now, I know I use the word how, so I might be throwing people off again, but I do view it more like design is your feature set, and then anatomy is how your energy, your base energy systems function. Hope I did a good job re-explaining.
That was a good brief recap.
Okay, good. I'm so glad. Oh,
she
good.
said thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. I'm glad that worked out.
Michelle shared on Facebook, I've enjoyed your connectedness and your approach on human design and energy work.
Well, thank you.
And I wanted to share that Annalena said, Nicole is amazing. I highly recommend working with her.
Thanks, Annalena. You're amazing too.
But do you have any final things you'd like to share with us?
No, I feel like I really am just such an honor. I'm so grateful to be here, and thank you, Cindy, for facilitating the conversation today. And if this, whether you see this on the replay and it's been a couple weeks, please do, feel free to check out Personal Power, because I'm going to record it for you guys, and we might rerun it again if it becomes really, popular conversation. So yeah, so thank you so much.